Welcome back once more to Sunday edition here on KTN News. Let's talk about the war on corruption and how Kenya is performing on that particular front. Let's begin with what has been happening. This past week, the Busia governor, Sospito Jamong, was arrested and charged over graft alongside 9 others over some procurement issues in the county of Busia. Let's take a look at the details here with Francis Ntomo.
This is not the way Ojamong thought things would go when he decided to voluntarily present himself at the EACC offices. He was handcuffed and his movements curtailed in a spur of a moment.
It's all politics.
Who would be targeting you politically?
Visibly shaken, Ojamong made his way out of Integrity Center in handcuffs, with officers trailing every move as the journey to Milimani law courts began. Ojamong is facing charges of abuse of office, conspiracy to commit an offense of economic crimes, failure to comply with procurement rules, among other charges.
There have been voluminous submissions by both sides, accompanied with several authorities and other literature which I need to consider and give a wholesome and reasoned ruling. I wished I would have delivered it now.
The prosecution told the court that the crimes were committed between March and September 2014, at the time Ojamong was serving his first term in office. It was a clash of minds between newly deployed head of Human Rights Division in the DPP office, Alexander Muteti, and Ojamong's lawyers led by Senator James Orengo.
I am in a bit of difficulty responding to matters of fact that my learned friend, Senior Counsel James Orengo, has made from the bar.
And today in independent Kenya, the year 2018, after we have suffered so much to bring a constitution that we have in this country, Your Honor, and we begin to go back in those days where bail was like trying to milk a stone.
Back in Busia County, earlier reports indicated that tension was building in some parts following the arrest, making parliamentarians from the region to come together and issue a statement.
And we want to take this opportunity to urge the people of Busia to remain calm as the law enforcement agencies do the work that they are supposed to do.
Article 181 of the Kenyan Constitution offers grounds on which a governor can be removed from office, and they include gross violation of the Constitution, where one commits crime under national or international law, abuse of office, or physical or mental incapacity to perform functions of the office of governor. Since he assumed office, Director of Public Prosecution Nurdin Haji has maintained a tough position in the fight against corruption. Some of his admirers say work has just started, but there are many others who feel the war against corruption has taken a selective and sifting mode in a country where multi-billion scandals have gone without prosecution. For an office that has received some fair share of accusations for propping up impunity here in the country, it now appears that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions is out to show its other side. But how well they drive the cases forward will solely depend on how they put together their pieces of evidence. Francis Ntomo, KTN News, Milimani Law Courts, Nairobi.
Prior to his arrest, the Busia governor had spoken about that order by the DPP to arrest him. Let's listen.
Lakini yale ambayo wanafanya saa hii ni kama siasa. Siasa ambayo inawekwa kwa ile maneno hata kufunika ile labda maneno ya sukari. Kwa hivyo milioni 8 ni pesa kidogo. Hata kama si wametupeleka watu karibu 9. Wangetuambia turudishe, badala wangekuwa wanafuatilia watu ambao wameleta sukari ya mabilioni. Kwa hivyo mimi nasema ya kwamba nafikiri tumewasiliana na mawakili wetu. Ikiwa tutashikwa tutaenda na tutajitetea. Lakini kusingiziwa maneno ati kwamba kaunti ilipoteza pesa, hiyo ni uongo. Ati pesa ilikuwa imetumwa kule Germany, hiyo ni maneno ya uongo. Tulikuwa tunafanya Madam Ri biashara akiwa amefungua account katika Family Bank Kisumu.
The Busia governor, Sospito Jamong, is dismissing this as a political witch hunt. He did spend some time in police custody, but was freed on cash bail. And the judiciary has been roped in this discussion. Let's listen to what the judge had to say.
all the 4 accused persons present to be released and/or are admitted to bail in the following terms: each to sign a bond of Kenya shillings 3 million, each to be released on a bond of Kenya shillings 2 million plus 1 surety of similar amount, or alternatively, each to pay a cash bail of Kenya shillings 1 million.
So the Busia issue was not the only corruption-related issue. Just this past week, there was also the issue of the Killer Dam in Solai in the county of Nakuru, which continues. There were planned protests by a group of survivors of that tragedy who claimed they had been duped to access some payment from the owners of the dam, around 100,000 shillings per every life lost. And this was described as a very small amount of money, and it was when they were signing the document, it was not compensation, but it later came out to them that they could not pursue that matter after that in court. So there was that. The DPP, that came after the DPP ordered the arrest of the managers of Patel Dam in Nakuru and some other officials, including some government officials.
The screams of horror and cries of pain that disrupted the tranquility of the May 9th night at Solai Township in Nakuru, as the over 20 million liters of water burst out of the collapsed Solai Patel Dam, killing 47 people, injuring tens of others and displacing hundreds of households. And now, Director of Public Prosecution Nurdin Haji has ordered the arrest and prosecution of 9 persons, including the Patel Coffee Estate's Managing Director Perry Mansour, General Manager Vijay Kumar, Nakuru Water Director Kamau Njuguna, and Nakuru Chair of the National Environment Management Authority NEMA, Lynette Jepchirchir. The 9 are staring at a likely life sentence on the first offense of manslaughter, while Karanja, Jepchirchir, and the 5 other state officers face a second charge of neglect of official duty relating to irregular issuance of a water permit for the ill-fated dam and failure to observe environmental compliance. Haji says his office is satisfied with the preliminary investigations into the tragedy, which point culpability on the 9 persons, and has given consent to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to immediately arrest the suspects as he prepares to have them arraigned in court. The DPP visited the area a few days after the tragedy and gave police 2 weeks to carry out investigations. The dam had been used for irrigation and fish farming before it burst, flattening 2 villages. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News.
Let me bring with the lawyer in the room, Kipchumba. We are seeing a lot of movement in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions concerning a lot of people being arrested left, right, and center. Is this an indication of a fact that he's working, or is it just is it enough to convince Kenyans that he is working better than his predecessor in terms of fighting corruption?
Ben, in any trial, the results are not determined at the beginning but at the end. You do not determine the effectiveness of a Director of Public Prosecution by arrest. You determine their effectiveness by the convictions.
So we're just analyzing how he has started. How do you think he has started?
So I think we are back to the old notion of a new broom sweep better, but as they sweep better, they should sweep straight also. So he has started in a good manner, and I think the cooperation between the DCI and the DPP is working well. But there are a few things which will be captured. We should also avoid taking the fight on corruption or the fight on graft to the courts. Our courts should remain as a bastion and a citadel of justice. That should be their work. When we start looking like we are trying to untwist the court, these courts they are independent in nature. The supremacy of the Constitution allows for the independence of the judiciary. And when we start saying the issues of blame games, we lose the battle. Secondly, there is an emerging trend that needs to be called out. As a lawyer, I'm very shocked. The emerging trend whereby we are allowing the prosecution side to go to court, arrest people, take them to court, and as they are at it, they tell the court that the investigations are still on. Why arrest them? Why are we in a hurry? If the investigations are still on, conclude the investigation and then arrest the people. Because that builds up to the narrative that we are having what we call pretrial detentions, whereby you are detained when the prosecution is doing investigation. That runs on the fabric of our constitution, where the constitution guarantees right to be bailed or to be bonded. We should not negate that right. Secondly, I think also we need to help the prosecutor, the Office of the Public Prosecution, in terms of issues of capacity. When you look at the charge, and I was interested in the charge against the governor, there is a spurious charge there. Some of those charges might not meet the threshold or might not see the face of the day. And that will have some effect of saying that maybe the judiciary is in bed with the corrupt, while we are bringing very weak charges, which some of them lack even the legal foundations. Secondly, we are a country that respects the rule of law. And as a positivist, there are things I have always anchored my thinking on. Why embarrass the governor by handcuffing him all this? He is still protected by Article 28 of the Constitution, his dignity. Why arrest him? Why the pulling and pushing? I think it doesn't serve any purpose. We need to treat people with dignity. If you have enough evidence, you don't need to shove me around. He is still a governor, elected by the people. Respect that. He might be corrupt, as you think. By arresting him and all that, it negates a lot of things about the democracy. Secondly, I think on issues of we need to standardize the guidelines on bail and bond. As we are now, we have seen, if you sit down and analyze the terms on which the same offenses on PS Lilian Omolo and the same offenses on Governor Ojamong, there are discrepancies in terms of how they were given, how the time they took in detention. Why? We need to harmonize that so that if you are arrested today as Ben, you know, I'll go there, I'll get my bail, I'll come back, defend myself. Because the notion is always this: if the prosecution has a strong case, even if it takes 100 years, you will always be convicted.
Hesbon, very good points there, Bonawakili. Hesbon, all things taken into consideration, how do you think Kenya is faring in this fight against corruption?
Well, I think we are on the right track. From where I see it, I think I applaud the progress that is being made by the different agencies, especially the office of the DPP. You know, the fact that the due process is taking its course. A governor has been arrested. There are charges against the governor. And I think it's not abnormal that the governor also has, you know, his side of the story. And as Kenyans, we are treated to that whole spectacle of looking at how it's going to pan out, which is very important. The fact that he talked about big whale and we are seeing a big whale. Now, my problem is we should not just be focusing on the big whale, that it should be substantive, that he didn't go for the governor because he's a governor. He went for the governor because there's substantive reasons why he thought the governor should be arraigned in court. Now, looking at it from the public opinion point of view, you realize that so many people are looking at it as, you know, a public, a PR gimmick, because there is a lot of perception that Ojamong, with the 8 million that he's being arrested for, is among the smallest fish. You know, there are so many governors outside here who are, you know, in the eyes of members of the public, a lot more corrupt, you know. And the fact that Ojamong has been arrested basically means that Kenyans are holding their breath. They are now waiting. There are people who are now waiting for their governors to be arrested. And if this is the right direction, we just hope that they will all be subjected to the rule of law so that people don't speculate or cast aspersions. People understand that these were the allegations. The governor proved himself innocent in a court of law, which is a good direction to take. But I also want to agree with my friend here, because he's a learned friend, that there is a sense in which all these issues of bail and who is accorded bail is now shrouded in some sort of mystery. And there's a lot of public interest that comes in, and you want to believe that courts are now pushed by public interest to deny people bail simply because the public is paying for the blood of the people who are perceived to be corrupt. And I think the office of the DPP and DCI can arrest that. They can do thorough investigations before we even know who is allegedly corrupt or not. Let them get all their facts right. Let them protect the witnesses so that if somebody is arraigned in court, we know it is all systems go. These guys will be charged. The drama of back and forth of, oh, my rights and stuff like that should be a thing of the past if they just focus on keeping behind the scene. By the time it gets to the public domain, we should know that they've done the investigation, they have all the facts, and they are arraigning somebody in court. If we go that direction, I think it will be a lot more, straightforward, and no governor would have, or no other big whale would have a reason to say, oh, I'm being targeted for political reasons, because the whole process will be fast-tracked by the time it gets to the public domain.
All right. Lillian, what is your take on our fights as a country against corruption?
I feel like we're not there. For example, this right here clearly looks like a diversion, something to appease people maybe. You know, we are out here, we are fighting, but again, I'm a bit more taken and disturbed by that clip because this governor Ojamong is handcuffed, but he's laughing. And he was laughing quite a bit, and I'm thinking, this is laughable because this fight on corruption is that funny. It's a joke. You know, we cannot have people laughing in handcuffs. It's not a good thing. There's so much to be done. So if you ask me, I would say no. I don't see it. Maybe I'm looking with my eyes from, you know, where I am, but no, there's too much corruption here on a great grand scale, and all this right here is just diversion, you know, nothing.
Is there enough being done, do you think,
no.
from where you sit?
No, I don't think so. And I wanted to ask Wakili over here, this Ojamong, was he arraigned in court? Was he charged? And if he was charged and say there's new evidence, can he be charged again?
Yes, of course. It will always be any trial, criminal trial, or even civil trial. Whenever there is new evidence, the prosecution is allowed to add another charge. Yes, because by charging, if you charge me today with stealing this cup, it does not take away the fact that I might have stolen this pen also. And if you come and investigate and realize that Kipchumba stole the pen and the cup, you bring another charge of stealing a pen.
True. And you see this hurrying, you know, let's get to court very fast, you know, prematurely. I think it's part of the game, you know. Yeah.
All right. This must have the final say on this, and a lot has been said about the Director of Public Prosecutions. And Wakili did allude to the fact that a lot of people have been arrested, and we hear investigations are still ongoing. Do you think he's doing right? I mean, it's too early still to judge him, but there's an example somebody pointed out to me that in the case of Solai Dam, a DO, they're called Assistant County Commissioners, I think right now, was being questioned about this, and yet she's been, or she has been in office less than a year ago. The Solai Dam was built in 1990 or 91 when the provincial commissioner in Rift Valley was Yusuf Haji. I mean, are we seeing half-baked, is there a possibility of half-baked investigation and prosecution?
No. There are many ways to look at your question, but let's go back to first to Ojamong. His response a day before he was arrested is a very strong statement of the impunity, mediocrity, and corruption you see in Kenyan leaders. He's been accused of misappropriating 8 million, and all he can say, what are you guys worried of? It's only 8 million. I can repay this amount of money. So for him, he's worried about the quantum, not the fact that he's being charged about this. So any rational man in the streets of Nairobi is now a very worried man. He's dismissing 8 million that he can repay it. Therefore, it means that there are not him specifically, but maybe other politicians or accounting officers have been stealing in multiples. That's a very worrying thing. Because for me, as far as I'm concerned, 8 million, Bob, is a lot of money. It would save folks in Busia from so many things. And this is a statement of how our politicians treat Kenya. Because right now, if you steal $1 million, Bob, it's not a big deal. Even if it's 100 million, it's not a big deal. Right now, the money people are talking about is $1 billion, which for many Kenyans, that figure sounds obscene. And for the new DPP, success is not going to be based on the number of arrests he's going to order. It's going to be on convictions, and not just convictions, on how much money he recovers. If we know that a governor or a PS or a cabinet secretary has misappropriated, say, 1 billion, even if the fellow is sent behind bars for 30 years, if you do not recover that 1 billion, then still it will be 50% success rate. Right. But another interesting aspect that you notice is from President Kenyatta, he seems to be very serious on this fight on corruption, because he's appointing people who are assumed to be intelligent with information. Right. When you look at the Inspector General of Police, he used to work for the intelligence, and the DPP used to work for the intelligence. So it seems like they've been given this assignment with a lot of information at the back of their minds, that they actually know what they're going for. However, as we start celebrating Haji that is doing a good job, a few days ago, he was quoted by the media as having said that there are a number of corrupt judges and magistrates who are hampering this fight against corruption. Right. I'm hoping that he has already made his feelings known to the Judicial Service Commission, so that, again, we don't have people being dismissed for lack of evidence. Right. But more important, and Karori indicated this, anybody is innocent till proven guilty. So the way you saw Ojamong being taken to the courts with handcuffs, and yet he had presented himself in the morning. And even if Ojamong wanted to make a dash for his freedom from Integrity Center to Milimani Commercial Courts, I doubt whether he can run faster than those fresh graduates of Kamkunji. But at the end of the day, really, where the rubber meets the road is conviction. It started with Ojamong, but there are a number of Kenyans saying, wait a minute, Ojamong now could be the smallest fish, because there are people who've been accused severally from NYS1, NYS2, cabinet secretaries who are still enjoying pepper steak somewhere.
Right. Let's leave it there, gentlemen and lady, in this issue of war and corruption because of time. And very quickly, before we take a quick commercial break here on Sunday edition, correction. There's a story on page 13 of the Sunday Standard, or sister newspaper, which lists Nyakach Girls Secondary School as one of the schools that have been closed down over student unrest. Our standard team and us, we would like to make a correction that Nyakach Girls Secondary School is not one of those schools that have been affected by the student unrest that has been ongoing in Nyanza. Studies are going on smoothly as we speak. Let's take a quick commercial break here and, of course, say goodbye at this point to our new panelist on the show, Lillian Richards-Okech, because when we come back, we'll be talking about Jubilee politics. She doesn't want to touch any of that. Thank you so much, Lillian, for joining us. Lovely having you on the show. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll speak about that house that is Jubilee, that is being reported to be divided. Don't go too far.